Greetings, fellow seekers. Today, we unearth a creature that should not exist, one that few records manage to preserve for long. It does not stalk its prey through tooth and claw alone, nor does it rely on brute strength or sorcery. Instead, it consumes through silence, through absence, through the space left behind when something or someone is no longer remembered. This is the False Hydra, a horror whispered of in fragmented accounts, its very nature a violation of reality itself. No one ever hears its victims scream, for there is no one left to remember they existed. Entire towns have fallen to its hunger, their histories swallowed as completely as their flesh. If you feel a chill, as though something is missing, something just beyond your reach, it may already be too late. The origins of the False Hydra are uncertain, for no account endures long enough to be verified. What little is known has been pieced together from fragmented recollections and scattered notes, desperate scribblings left behind by those who somehow became aware of its presence before vanishing entirely. Some believe the False Hydra is an unnatural mutation, a mistake of creation that slipped through the cracks of reality. Others claim it is an eldritch horror, a being from beyond the veil that does not belong within the natural order. There are those who argue it is the result of a forgotten curse, an entity that thrives on secrecy and despair. It is a horror that consumes both body and memory, feasting on those the world can no longer recall. But on one point all theories agree: wherever the False Hydra dwells, truth itself unravels. The False Hydra does not begin as a colossal monstrosity. It starts small, barely more than a pale, featureless head emerging from the dark. But as it feeds, it grows. Its long, sinewy necks stretch unnaturally, twisting through the spaces of a city, slithering between rooftops and into basements, burrowing beneath cobblestone streets and wooden floorboards. Each head moves independently, its eyeless visage scanning without sight, its mouth stretching wide to consume. And yet, none see it. Its most horrifying trait is not its size nor its hunger, but its song, a sound that is not truly heard but felt, a quiet melody that gnaws at perception, distorting the mind's ability to recognize its existence. Those within its influence begin to forget. They forget the creature itself. They forget what it has taken. They forget that someone was ever missing at all. A merchant once had a son, a wife, a friend. He is certain of this. But when asked, he cannot recall their face, their name, their voice. There is only a nagging absence, a gap in his mind that refuses to be filled. And when he too is gone, the world moves on, none the wiser. The False Hydra does not rampage or hunt in the way of ordinary monsters. It does not stalk its prey through the forests, nor does it lurk in the depths of dungeons, waiting for unsuspecting adventurers. Instead, it burrows into the hearts of settlements, growing stronger with each forgotten victim, its presence expanding in the spaces it erases. It does not need to hide, for it is hidden by its very nature. Some records suggest that a False Hydra begins its life in deep places: abandoned wells, ruined crypts, sunken cellars. Anywhere it can remain unseen as it sings its first silent lullaby. At first, its influence is subtle. A shopkeeper forgets a customer who never left the store. A mother hesitates at the dinner table, staring at an extra chair, unable to recall who used to sit there. A town crier announces the arrival of merchants whose names are missing from his notes. But as it feeds, its influence grows. The town begins to feel emptier, quieter, yet no one questions it. Streets that were once bustling feel strangely spacious, as if the buildings themselves have stretched to accommodate some unspoken absence. Homes become less cluttered, wardrobes and cabinets missing belongings that no one recalls purchasing. The Hydra's tendrils extend beneath the town, slithering through sewers and crawl spaces, its pale heads emerging through floorboards to feed unnoticed in the dead of night. Its victims do not scream, do not struggle, at least not in a way anyone remembers. They are swallowed in quiet, their existence erased from the minds of all who knew them. And when the last person is taken, the town does not become a ruin, at least not one that anyone remembers. Roads that once led to its gates grow over with time. Maps bearing its name fade into obscurity, and the world moves on, unaware that anything was ever lost. Few stories of the False Hydra remain intact, for even written accounts are abandoned, forgotten, or destroyed by those under its influence. However, the archives of the Seeker Society contains fragmented records from those who glimpsed the horror and lived to tell of it, though none can say for how long. One such tale speaks of the vanishing of Westridge, a thriving town that, according to all records, never existed. Cartographers' maps list only an empty valley, yet old trade routes still lead to roads that end in nothingness. And deep beneath the earth, amid the remains of stone foundations, lie tunnels too large and winding to be natural, their walls scarred by something vast and hungry. Another account comes from the survivor of Ashford, a man who arrived at a neighbouring village covered in dirt and blood, his clothes torn, his mind fractured. He spoke of friends, of family, of a home swallowed by a thing he could not describe, a thing that devoured his world and left him alone in the void it created. But when asked where he had come from, no one could recall the name of his town. No one had ever heard of it, and neither within days had he. But perhaps the most disturbing tale is that of the unfinished letter, found in the archives of a ruined keep. The parchment is old, its ink faded, but the words are clear. It sings. I must tie this note to my wrist, else I will forget why I am writing at all. The streets are emptier than before. I think the mayor is gone. I think my wife is gone. I mustn't listen, I mustn't forget. I must. The writing ends abruptly, the final strokes jagged and uncertain. No name is signed, no sender is known. There are no records of slaying a false hydra. Perhaps none ever have, or perhaps none have lived long enough to remember. Some believe that disrupting its song, even for a moment, can shatter its hold, allowing those trapped in its influence to finally see the horror lurking in their midst. Others claim that it cannot truly be killed, only driven away, slithering into the dark to begin anew in some other forgotten place. A few accounts speak of those who have fought to remember, carving names and faces into their flesh, scrawling messages where their eyes will find them again and again. These survivors, if they can be called such, carry the weight of what they have lost, knowing that if they do not, no one else ever will. The false hydra is a creature of absence, a nightmare that preys not on flesh alone, but on the very fabric of remembrance. It does not need to hide in shadows, for its existence is a secret even to those who stand in its maw. And thus, we conclude this entry into the archives of the Seeker Society, though perhaps as you listen, you may feel that something is missing. A presence once known, a voice once heard, a name on the tip of your tongue now lost. If you have encountered such whispers in your travels, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if there is another mystery you wish for us to uncover, please let us know. Until next time, Seekers, hold fast to what you know before it is taken from you.